Welcome back to The Deep Dive, the place where we take complex technology ecosystems and really try to boil them down to the choices that actually matter to you, the creator.
Absolutely. And today we're tackling one that causes a lot of head scratching, the Sony ZV ecosystem.
It really does. It seems like Sony's given us three answers to the same question, right? How to make great online content.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But each answer forces a totally different approach. You've got the ZV-1, that little pocket rocket.
Yep.
Then there's the new ZV-E10 Mark II, the sort of budget pro system starter.
Okay.
And then the big gun, the ZV-E1, which is like a mini cinema camera. It's a fascinating spread.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission today, it's not just about comparing specs, is it? We're going deeper.
Much deeper. We want to get into the practical reality, the day-to-day experience of using these things. Forget the marketing hype for a second.
Yeah, let's talk friction points. What are the things that actually trip you up when you're out there trying to create?
Exactly. Things like, sensor dust, a nightmare for video.
Yeah.
Or just how tired your arm gets carrying a heavy setup all day.
Battery life limitations.
Huge one. And maybe the most critical for some, how much can you actually push the colors in post-production? That grading headroom.
Right. So the goal is to cut through that paralysis some people feel and really help you match the camera to your actual needs and maybe just as importantly, your preferred way of working.
That's the key. And understanding the core philosophy behind each camera is, I think, the first step.
Okay, lay them out for us. What's the thinking behind each one?
Well, the ZV-1, the one with the fixed lens, that's all about zero friction. Always there.
Grab and go.
Totally. It's designed to be incredibly efficient, super simple. You just pick it up and shoot.
Then the ZV-E10 Mark II.
That one's message is more like budget pro, system growth, 10-bit sharpness.
Okay, so it's the entry point to a bigger system.
Exactly. Gives you better codecs, that crucial 10-bit color we'll talk about. But it expects you to grow into it, buy more lenses over time. It's scalable.
And finally, the ZV-E1.
The E1. That's the LookMax mini scene platform. This is all about getting the absolute best image quality possible in a small body.
So cinematic look, top-tier stabilization, low-light king.
Pretty much. It's saying, I want that high-end look, and I'm willing to invest and manage the system to get it.
All right, let's hit the big one first. Money. The investment. Because it's never just the camera body, is it?
Never. It's the total system cost. And here, the ZV-1, well, it's the clear winner for pure entry cost and efficiency.
The all-in-one.
Right. You buy it, you're done. Lens included. We're seeing U.S. prices, like $700 on sale sometimes, maybe up to $900 list. In Germany, around $650, maybe $700.
So lowest barrier to entry for a high-quality 4K.
Definitely. Now, compare that to the ZV-E10 Mark II. It's still, relatively affordable for what it offers.
But it's just the start.
Exactly. The body alone is nudging $1,100 or over 900 euros. And the kit lens, the 1650 millimeter, pushes that closer to $1,200 or nearly $1,000.
And that's just the kit lens. The real cost comes when you want better glass.
Precisely. That's the system growth part. It invites you to spend more later.
Okay, then there's the ZV-E1. This is a different league financially.
Oh, absolutely. We jump from prosumer pricing into serious investment territory. The body itself starts around $2,100 US or $2,150.
You can't just slap any old lens on that full-frame sensor, can you?
You really should. You're defeating the purpose. To get the benefit of that amazing sensor, you need quality full-frame lenses, and they are not cheap.
So that example from the research, just adding a decent common zoom like the Sony 24-70mm f4.
Which is around, $950 US or $700?
Yeah, suddenly your initial outlay for the ZV-E1 plus one decent lens is over $3,000 or close to $2,850.
That's like 3 or 4 times the cost of just getting started with the ZV-1. It's a massive leap.
And that financial jump directly connects to the next trade-off, the actual physical burden, the weight and handling.
It's physics, right? Bigger sensor generally means bigger lenses, heavier kit overall.
And the ZV-1 here is just tiny.
It's the stealth bomber. Under 300 grams, battery and card included. You barely know it's there.
So if you're traveling, shooting street stuff, or just need something on you all day without wrecking your neck,
it's unbeatable in that respect. Pure convenience.
The ZV-E10 too, even with that kit lens, it's still pretty light.
It stays under 500 grams, which is great. Still very manageable, still discreet. But, it's not pocketable like the ZV-1. It feels like a camera system now.
Okay, and the ZV-E1, the body itself is surprisingly compact for full frame.
It is. Sony did a good job there, around 485 grams, but...
You add that 24-70mm f4 lens we talked about.
And suddenly you're carrying almost a kilogram, like 910 grams.
And if you go for the really nice glass, like the Pro f2.8 zoom...
You're easily over a kilo, maybe 1.2 kilograms total. That's serious weight.
That completely changes how you work, doesn't it? Going from under 300 gram to over 1 kilogram.
Massively. One is an instant grab-and-shoot tool. The other requires a proper bag, conscious effort, carrying 1.2 kilos handheld for hours. It's tiring. It affects your willingness to just pull the camera out for a quick shot.
Okay, so system cost, system weight. Now let's talk about a really practical, often overlooked pain point for those interchangeable lens cameras, the E10-2 and the E1. The dust.
Ah, yes. The dreaded sensor dust. This is probably the ZV-1's biggest hidden superpower.
Because it's sealed.
Completely sealed system.
Yeah.
Fixed lens. Dust just can't get onto the sensor. You can be on a windy beach, dusty trail, whatever. No worries. It's a huge advantage for field work.
Whereas with the E10-2 and the E1, every time you change that lens...
You're opening the door for dust to get in and settle right on that sensor. And for video...
Oh, man.
Why is it so much worse for video than photos?
Because a single dust spot on a photo, you can clone it out in seconds. But on video, that speck is stuck there for every single frame.
So a 3-minute clip at 24 frames per second? That's thousands of frames you might need to retouch. Yeah, over 4,000 frames. Manually cloning out dust spots across an entire project, it can absolutely kill your workflow efficiency. It's a nightmare.
Okay, so if I choose the flexibility of the E10-2 or the E1, what do I have to do to manage this risk? What's the drill?
Discipline. It's all about a careful routine. First, always power the camera off before swapping lenses, less static charge on the sensor.
Right.
Second, point the camera mount downwards when the lens is off. Gravity is your friend, kinda.
Okay, makes sense.
Third, be quick about it, like under 5 seconds if possible. Minimize the exposure time.
And fourth,
you absolutely need a tool like a rocket blower, and you need to use it regularly, religiously, to puff air onto the sensor and dislodge any particles. It's just part of the E-mount life.
now, there was that interesting hack mentioned in the research about making dust less visible, even if it is there.
Yes. This is clever. So dust spots show up sharpest when you stop the lens down to smaller apertures like f8, f11, f16.
Which video shooters often do in bright light to maintain that 180-degree shutter rule, right? Like 150th of a second shutter.
Exactly. But stopping down makes those dust shadows super crisp and obvious.
So the hack is, don't stop down.
Pretty much. Instead of closing the aperture down, keep it wide open like f2.8, f4, where the background blur is nice anyway.
And control the light how?
With external ND filters, neutral density filters. Slap a variable ND on the front of the lens to cut the light.
Ah, so you get the right exposure, keep the wide aperture, and the dust becomes less visible.
Exactly, because at wider apertures, the dust particle is effectively more out of focus relative to the sensor plane, so its shadow becomes soft, blurry, often completely invisible in the final footage. It's a great workflow saver, especially for the ZV-E1, where you often want those wide apertures anyway.
Okay, moving from the physical world to the digital one, let's talk about the actual video files these cameras produce. Codecs, color depth, the stuff that dictates how good your final product can look.
Right. And this is where the ZV-1 hits its first major ceiling. It's efficient, yes, but it's limited.
How so?
It records 4K, but only up to 30 frames per second. And critically, it's only 8-bit video, usually HTAPE 264.
Okay, 8-bit versus 10-bit. Why is this such a fundamental difference, especially if you plan to color grade your footage?
It's like the difference between a box of 16 crayons and a box with thousands. 8-bit video captures about 16.7 million colors per channel. 10-bit captures over 1 billion.
Wow, okay, that's a huge jump.
It's massive. When you try to stretch or manipulate 8-bit footage, maybe push the skin tones, tweak a blue sky, recover highlights, you run out of color information really fast.
And you get
banding. Ugly steps or blocks of color instead of smooth gradients, especially visible in skies or on walls. If you want to grade seriously, 8-bit is a major, major limitation, a real friction point in post.
So for that post-production security, knowing your footage can handle heavy grading, you need to look at the other two.
Absolutely. Both the ZV-E10-2 and the ZV-E1 offer 10-bit recording. And not just 10-bit, but 10-bit 4.2.2.
Okay, break down 4.2.2 for us quickly. Most consumer stuff is 4.2.0, right?
Right. Think of it like color resolution. 4.2.0 samples the full color information only for every block of 4 pixels. 4.2.2 samples it for every block of 2 pixels.
So double the color information horizontally.
Essentially, yeah. It gives you much more accurate, detailed color data. This is vital for two main things: getting really clean, nuanced grades without artifacts, especially with subtle colors, and professional workflows like chroma keying or green screen. The extra color info lets you pull a much cleaner key with better edge detail. The E10-2 and E1 give you this headroom using robust XAVC formats. The E1 even adds all intra.
All intra. That means every frame is saved fully independent, right? Not compressed based on surrounding frames.
Exactly. It's the highest quality, easiest to edit, but generates massive file sizes. It's what pros use when quality and editing performance are paramount. The ZV-1 just isn't playing in that league codec-wise.
Okay, what about frame rates for slow motion and overall resolution options?
ZV-1, capped at 4K 30p, period. If you want slow-mo, you have to drop all the way down to 1080p full HD to get 120 frames per second.
Which is okay, but not 4K slow-mo.
Definitely not. The ZV-E10-2 is kind of the sweet spot here for many. It does really sharp 4K 30p because it reads out a 6K area of the sensor and downsamples it. Super detailed.
Nice. And higher frame rates.
It offers 4K 60p, which is great for smoother motion or half-speed slow-mo, but there's a slight catch. It crops in about 1.1x for 4K 60p using a 5.6K readout instead of the full 6K.
Still pretty good, though. No 4K 120p on the E10-2?
No 4K 120p. That's reserved for the top tier.
Which brings us to the ZV-E1.
Right. The E1 gives you full frame, uncropped 4K up to 60p internally, and the big one, 4K 120p, is also possible. Still full frame, no crop.
But didn't the sources say there's a hoop to jump through for that?
Yeah, a small one. You have to activate a free license via Sony's Creators Cloud app or website. It's a one-time thing. Once done, you unlock that high frame rate goodness. Serious slow motion power.
Beyond resolution and color, there's another technical aspect that really affects how motion looks, especially handheld shots or pans. Rolling shutter.
Ah, the jello effect. Yeah, this is crucial.
Explain simply why the sensor readout speed matters so much here.
Okay, so most cameras use CMOS sensors, and they don't capture the whole image instantly like old film cameras. They scan the scene line by line from top to bottom really fast, but not instantaneously.
Like a photocopier scanning a page.
Kind of, yeah. So if the camera or something in the scene moves quickly while the sensor is scanning, vertical lines can appear slanted or warped. Fast pans make buildings lean, that sort of thing. We call it rolling shutter.
And faster readout means less of that.
Exactly. The quicker the sensor scans the entire frame, the less time there is for movement to cause distortion.
So how do our three cameras stack up here? There's a clear winner, right?
Oh, yeah. The ZV-E1 is the king, by a mile. Sony deliberately used a lower resolution 12 megapixel sensor, same family as the A7S, the third, and FX3, specifically for speed and low light.
Fewer pixels to read out means faster scanning.
Precisely. It reads the 4K image almost one-to-one from the sensor, incredibly fast. The sources peg its rolling shutter performance in the single digits, like 8 or 9 milliseconds in 4K. That's pro level. You can pan quickly, walk briskly. Even minor gimbal wobbles won't look weird. It's very composed.
That 12MP choice really highlights it's a video-first design, doesn't it? Trading stills resolution for motion quality.
Absolutely. It minimizes heat, too. Now, surprisingly, the ZV-1 comes in second place here.
Even with its tiny 1-inch sensor.
Yeah, because it uses a stacked sensor design. That stacked architecture speeds up the readout significantly. It's not E1 level, but it's respectable, maybe around 17, 18 milliseconds. Good enough for walking vlogs and gentle pans without obvious skew.
Which leaves the ZV-E10 Mark II.
Unfortunately, it's at the bottom of this particular pile. It's definitely better than the old Mark I, thanks to the newer sensor and processing. But you will see rolling shutter on fast pans, or really shaky handheld work.
So that's one of the trade-offs for getting that sharp 6K oversampling and 10-bit at its price point.
That's the trade-off. If minimal rolling shutter is your absolute top priority, if you do a lot of fast action or run and gun, the ZV-E1 is really the only one that guarantees that composure.
All right, let's talk about the look. This is where sensor size, 1-inch, APS-C, full frame really starts to show its fundamental differences, especially in low light and for achieving that shallow depth of field, that blurry background.
Yeah, the physics become undeniable here. And the ZV-1, well, it fights an uphill battle due to its smaller 1-inch sensor.
But it has a fast lens, right? f1.8.
It does, and that's its saving grace. That f1.8, 2.8 lens lets in a good amount of light, which helps keep the noise down when the ISO starts climbing. It compensates somewhat for the smaller sensor size.
But when someone says, I want that cinematic background blur, the ZV-1 just can't compete directly, can it?
Not really. It's down to sensor size equivalence. That f2.8 aperture at the telephoto end on the ZV-1. In terms of depth of field, it behaves more like f7.6 or f8 on a full-frame camera, assuming you match the field of view.
So you get some separation, especially if your subject is close.
Sure, you can blur the background a bit, but you're not getting that super creamy subject-popping isolation that larger sensors provide.
And the ZV-E1 being full frame, that's where the magic happens for low light and bokeh.
That's where it excels. That 12MP sensor with its big pixels is inherently better in low light. We're talking maybe a 2-stop advantage in signal-to-noise ratio compared to the 1-inch ZV-1. Cleaner images at much higher ISOs.
And for the blur.
Pair the ZV-E1 with a fast full-frame prime lens, like an f1.8 or f1.4, and you unlock that classic shallow depth of field look. Backgrounds just melt away, even with a slower f4 zoom, like that 24 70mm 4. The full-frame sensor still gives you more background separation than the ZV-1 can manage at its widest aperture. The larger sensor just fundamentally captures a shallower depth of field.
Okay, let's switch gears to keeping the image steady. Stabilization. Each camera takes a different path here.
Very different paths, yeah. Let's quickly define the tech. IBS is in-body image stabilization. The sensor moves. OSS is optical steady shot. The lens elements move.
Got it. So the ZV-1.
It uses OIS, optical stabilization in its fixed lens, combined with Sony's active electronic stabilization, or eStabi.
And how well does that work?
Surprisingly well, actually, especially for wide-angle vlogging, like selfie walking shots. The sources suggest that lens-based OIS can sometimes be better at smoothing out really high-frequency jitters, making it feel very fluid for that specific use case.
Now, the ZV-E10 Mark II, this one's interesting because it specifically lacks IBIS, right?
Correct. That's a conscious design choice to keep the size and cost down. It relies entirely on OSS stabilization built into the lens, plus the active eStabi, which always crops the image slightly.
So what's the implication? If I buy a lens without OSS for my E10 II?
You have basically no stabilization other than the digital crop. For serious handheld work, especially at cinematic frame rates like 24p, where shake is more obvious, you pretty much need to buy stabilized OSS lenses for the E10 too. Or use a gimbal. That's a key system consideration.
And the ZV-E1 brings out the big guns.
It does. The ZV-E1 has a proper 5-axis IBIS system. The sensor itself moves. You combine that with the active or even more aggressive dynamic active electronic modes and use an OSS lens.
And you get the best of all worlds.
Pretty much the maximum handheld smoothness possible in this lineup. The IBS handles the larger body movements. Active smooths it further. It gives you the most confidence to shoot handheld, even with more dynamic camera moves.
Okay, beyond the image itself, let's talk about practicalities on set. Interviews, streaming, I/O, power, monitoring. These can be major friction points too.
Absolutely critical for professional use. And audio monitoring is a big one.
The ZV-E1 and E10 II both have.
A dedicated 3.5mm headphone jack. Essential. Lets you plug in headphones and actually hear the audio you're recording in real time. Check for noise, levels, mic problems.
Crucial for solo shooters or interviews. And the ZV-1.
No dedicated headphone out. That's a definite pain point. You have to rely on the visual meters on screen, or maybe use an external recorder if you need monitoring confidence.
Although all three have the MI shoe for digital audio adapters, right? Like Sony's XLR handle.
They do, yes. So you can get pro audio in, but for basic on-camera monitoring, that simple headphone jack on the E1 and E10 II is a significant advantage the ZV-1 lacks.
Power is another big difference.
Huge difference. The ZV-E1 and E10 II both use the larger, much longer-lasting NP-FC100 battery, same one used in many of Sony's bigger alpha cameras.
And they support USB power delivery.
Yes, USB PV, so you can plug them into a powerful USB-C power bank or wall adapter and run them basically indefinitely. Ideal for long interviews, streaming, time lapses, they're long runners.
Compared to the ZV-1,
which uses the tiny little NP-BX1 battery, you're lucky to get maybe 75 minutes of video recording out of one.
So you absolutely need spares or a power bank constantly attached.
Absolutely. It becomes a real hassle for anything beyond short clips. Managing batteries constantly adds friction, especially if you're trying to be discreet or move quickly.
And finally, under practical friction, we have to talk about that specific ZV-1 issue. The screen brightness lock when shooting outdoors.
Oof. Yes. This is a weirdly specific but incredibly annoying problem unique to the ZV-1.
What exactly happens?
When you're recording in 4K or in the high frame rate 1080p modes, the ZV-1 locks the screen brightness. You cannot activate the sunny weather setting, which boosts the screen brightness significantly.
So on a bright, sunny day,
Yeah.
you just can't see the screen properly.
Pretty much. It washes out completely. You can't reliably judge your framing or exposure just by looking at it.
That sounds crippling for run-and-gun vlogging, the very thing the ZV-1 is designed for.
It really is. It forces you to rely entirely on zebras and the histogram to judge exposure, which slows you down and takes you out of the moment. You lose that spontaneity. The ZV-E1 and E10 too do not have this limitation. Their screens can be boosted in all modes.
Yeah.
Honestly, this one issue could be a deal breaker for many outdoor creators considering the ZV-1.
Okay, well, these are definitely video-focused cameras. They still take photos. Let's touch on their stills capabilities because there's a surprising twist here.
Yeah, resolution-wise, it's pretty straightforward. ZV-1 gives you 20 megapixels from its 1-inch sensor. Plenty for online use, social media, basic prints.
ZV-E10 2 steps up with its APS-C sensor.
To 26 megapixels. More detail, more room to crop, better for larger prints if needed.
And the ZV-E1 stays at that lower 12 megapixels, even for stills.
Right. Again, that choice prioritizes video speed and low light. But those 12 MP full-frame files are known for being very clean, great high ISO performance, nice tones. Some photographers really like that look, even if they sacrifice cropping flexibility.
But now for the twist. The ZV-1 has a secret weapon for a specific type of photography, doesn't it?
It does. It's the leaf shutter advantage. This is kind of cool and technical.
Explain leaf shutter versus the shutter in the other cameras.
Okay, so the ZV-1 has a mechanical shutter built into its lens, like blades opening and closing in the middle. It's called a central or leaf shutter. The ZV-E1 and E10-2 use focal plane shutters, mostly electronic for these models, where curtains travel across the sensor surface.
And why does the ZV-1's leaf shutter matter for flash photography?
Because leaf shutters can sync with flash at much higher shutter speeds.
So what does this super fast sync speed on the ZV-1 let you do?
It lets you dominate bright, sunny outdoor portraits using flash. You can shoot at a wide aperture like f2.8 to get background blur and use a super fast shutter speed to kill the bright ambient sunlight, making your flash the main light on the subject.
Without needing high-speed sync or HSS on the flash?
Exactly. HSS lets other cameras shoot faster than their sync speed, but it pulses the flash rapidly and dramatically cuts down the flash power.
Yeah.
The ZV-1 avoids that power loss. It can overpower the sun with a small flash much more effectively.
So, counterintuitively, the little ZV-1 is actually better than the expensive ZV-E1 for outdoor flash portraits.
In that specific scenario, yes. It's a remarkable hidden gem for hybrid shooters who do that kind of work.
Okay, so that's the ZV-1's win. What's the flip side? The challenge for the E1 and E10-2 with their electronic shutters?
Well, the ZV-E1 is only electronic shutter. The E10-2 uses it heavily too. Their slow sync speeds with traditional flash are one issue we mentioned.
But there's another problem, especially indoors under artificial light.
Yes, banding. Because the electronic shutter reads the sensor line by line if you're shooting under certain types of LED or fluorescent lights that flicker.
Which most do, even if we can't see it.
Right, they cycle on and off rapidly. The slow readout can catch different parts of the sensor during the on and off phases of the light cycle,
resulting in
dark bands rolling through your image or video. It can be a real problem in corporate settings, gyms, anywhere with potentially flickery artificial lighting. The ZV-E1 and E10-2 are more susceptible to this than the ZV-1 with its global mechanical leaf shutter for stills.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground price, weight, dust, codecs, stabilization, quirks. Let's try to tie it all together. Let's put these cameras into real-world scenarios and see which one fits best. Build that decision matrix for the listener.
Sounds good. Scenario 1. The traveler, the street shooter, the solo vlogger who needs maximum convenience, speed, and stealth. Low fatigue is key.
This feels like ZV-1 territory, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's practically built for this.
Right.
Zero friction is its motto. It wins on pure speed and being unobtrusive.
That built-in ND filter is huge here, too.
Massive for running gun. No fumbling with filters, just flip it on. Plus, the near-zero dust risk gives huge peace of mind when you're out in the elements. It just works.
What about the E10-2 as an alternative here?
It's a strong contender if you absolutely need that 10-bit color or lens flexibility. It's still light with the kit lens, but you have to accept the dust management hassle carrying an external ND, and it's just not as instantly deployable as the ZV-1.
Okay, scenario 2. The creator focused purely on low-light performance, maximum background separation, that ultimate look max quality. Budget is less of a concern than the final image.
This is tailor-made for the ZV-E1. No contest, really.
Full-frame sensor for low noise and shallow DOF.
Yep. Clean high ISOs, beautiful bokeh with fast primes, plus the excellent rolling shutter performance for smooth motion, and the robust 10-bit 4.2.2 codec for grading flexibility. It's designed to deliver that high-end aesthetic.
Quick challenge, though. If my final destination is just, say, Instagram Reels, heavily compressed, do I really see the benefit of the E1's expensive system over the 10-bit E10 too? Where's the tangible difference in that context?
That's a fair point. For highly compressed, short-form content in good light, the E10 gets you remarkably close, especially with that sharp 6K oversampling. The breaking point for the E1, even for social, comes down to two things. Truly challenging low light, where its noise advantage will still be visible, and stabilization. If you need super smooth handheld shots without a gimbal, the E1's eyepiece is significantly better than the E10's reliance on OSS and active crop. So if you shoot indoors at night or need rock-solid handheld, the E1 justifies itself even for social. Otherwise, the E10 is incredibly compelling value.
Gotcha. Scenario 3. Long-form content. Interviews, streaming, anything set-based where the camera might run for extended periods.
Here, robustness and practical features take priority. The ZV-E1 pulls ahead again.
What?
That big NPF Z100 battery is key. Plus, USB PD for continuous power means no battery anxiety during a long recording. The headphone jack is essential for monitoring interviews, and the option for all intra-recording gives maximum security in post.
The ZV-E10 is pretty strong here too, though.
It is. Very close second. It shares the FZ100 battery, USB PD, and the headphone jack. It's also a great choice for this scenario. Probably the best value option.
And the ZV-1.
It kind of falls down here. The small battery is a major issue for long takes, the lack of headphone monitoring is risky, and it might even run into thermal limits on very long 4K recordings. Not ideal for set-based work.
Okay, final scenario. Scenario 4. Corporate work, agency jobs, or any project involving a heavy grading pipeline. Reliability and color fidelity are paramount.
The dimmen's the most post-security, as you called it earlier, and that points back to the ZV-E1.
The combination of features.
Yeah, you need the IB for potentially tricky shots, the super low rolling shutter for clean motion, especially if integrating graphics, the 10-bit 4.2.2 for flawless color work and green screen, and the pro audio options via the MI shoe. It's the most reliable package for delivering to demanding clients.
Does the E10 have a place here at all?
Definitely, especially for more budget-conscious corporate gigs. It delivers that crucial 10-bit 4.2.2 color and that super sharp 4K 30p image. It can absolutely work. But the ZV-E1 just offers more safety nets, better stabilization, better rolling shutter, reducing the potential for costly problems down the line. It's the lower risk option when the stakes are high, right? It's the platform that scales best when the client needs that extra layer of assurance. Hashtag outro.
Wow, okay. That was a genuinely deep dive. We've picked apart these three cameras from almost every angle, looking at the tech specs, but really focusing on those real-world usability factors, the friction points. Let's try and distill this down to a final synthesis.
I think it boils down to matching the camera's core strength to your biggest need or your biggest frustration with your current setup.
So you choose the ZV-1 if your absolute priority is speed and stealth.
Right. If 4K 30p and 8-bit color are good enough for your output, and you just want the camera that's always ready, minimal fuss, maximum convenience, it's the anti-friction tool.
Okay. You choose the ZV-E10 Mark II if you're looking for value, scalability, and that jump to 10-bit sharpness.
Exactly. If you want better image quality than the ZV-1, the flexibility of interchangeable lenses, and you're willing to manage the dust risk and work within the OS active stabilization limits, it's the smart entry to the E-mount system.
And finally, you choose the ZV-E1 if you need maximum grading headroom, the best possible look, and ultimate motion composure.
Yeah. If you're chasing that full-frame aesthetic, need top-tier low light and stabilization, and you're prepared for the significant investment in the body, the lenses, and the discipline required for managing a high-end system, including that dust risk.
So the decision isn't just about which camera has the longest feature list.
Not at all. It's about identifying which camera solves your biggest workflow problem.
That leads perfectly into the final thought for you, the listener. We've talked about a lot of friction points today.
Think about this. Which specific issue we discussed? Maybe it's the ZV-1's lock screen brightness in the sun. Maybe it's the dust anxiety with the ZV-E1. Maybe it's the E10-2's lack of IBIS for your handheld style. Which one is the single greatest barrier to your creative flow right now?
Because the camera that removes that specific barrier.
That's probably the right camera for you, almost regardless of sensor size or anything else. Solve your biggest headache first.
So what does this all mean? It means digging into your own process, understanding your own pain points, and choosing the tool that lets you create most freely. Really interesting stuff to consider. Until next time on The Deep Dive.